everybody, Larry Lawton here. I got a great video for you today. It's an Ask Me Anything. So we put up some questions on Reddit. Now, they're always fun to do because I tell it like it is, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. I think you all know that. All right, guys. Also, please check us out on YouTube, member programs. Check out my book, Gangster Redemption, Going Crazy. Also, everybody, check us out on Patreon, Instagram, all the social platforms. All right, everybody, here we go. First question, Ask Me Anything. Hey, Larry, I've noticed in all your videos where you discuss robbing jewelry stores, you always went in when the shop was open. What prevented you from pulling jobs after hours as opposed to when shops were open for business? Thanks and love your channel. Great question. You know, you can go in at night, but then you have to have a guy who knows how to open a safe. Some safes are on time lock. I studied safes for a while. There was one safe that no matter, even if the owner or the manager opened that safe on it off time, an alarm would go off and it would trigger it and people would show up because they don't know what you're doing. It's always easier to rob the store when the things were open so you didn't have to deal with that. It's a little bit more hairy because you're dealing with live people and stuff. And there are crews that used to go in there at night and go through vaults and go through safes and crack safes or take the safe out of the place. But you know, in today's world, even today, more than even my world, they even had like a GPS or a LoJack on that safe, and it can be followed wherever it goes. And again, a lot of them are time-sensitive lock opens. Can't open them. So it was always easier to do it when it was open. In fact, on one of my robberies, I actually robbed the place when before the guy started putting all the stuff out in the display case. So it was right there in the safe for me. I didn't have to go through the display cases. He started doing it. When I robbed it, it's open, easy to put in the bags, and a lot better. But that's the main reason in the day, because getting another technical person in there to either crack a safe, and then there's so much variables to that, and I never wanted to work. The least variables you work with, the better you are, always, in any robbery. Here's another one. Hey Larry, what was the worst experience that you've had before you got caught? I would have to say when I had an incident in South Florida with a mafia guy, and it ended up where me being in New York, almost getting killed over it. And luckily, some people saved me, Dominic and my guys. And I was at that point, I was very, very concerned, and I didn't know what I was gonna do. So I'd have to say that was my worst. Obviously, getting caught and all that, we're not gonna get into that. It's something that I think about often, I really do. I think about how lucky I am in life not to have been killed on the outside by whether it's the cops or the mafia guys or whoever. Hi Larry, do you think there is more racism in prison than in the general public? Do you also think inmates would be scared to be friends with someone of a different race due to how they would be perceived by others? I don't think there's more racism in prison than the outside. I think there's racism everywhere. I think some people can become racist by even going to prison because the prison segregates you. They say they don't, but they do. They'll come up with all this bullshit they don't, but listen, it's there. You're gonna see blacks and they have a white TV room, a black TV room, a Hispanic TV room, sports TV room. I would not say there's more. I say there's racism everywhere. I do say the prison supports it. Believe it or not, the prison wants the races to hate each other, because then they don't worry about escaping. And that was told to me by multiple people in prison. Officials, told to me by a unit manager, was once told to me by a counselor, told to me by many guards that, Larry, don't think they don't want this shit to happen. They don't want the blacks fighting the whites, because if you're fighting each other, you're not thinking of escaping. You're not thinking of hurting a guard or something of that nature. They're just, you know, they don't give a shit in the prison system. And do I think some inmates are scared? I think some are. I worked with all groups. I worked with the blacks, the Hispanics, the Chinese, Indians. It didn't matter. I mean, because I grew up in New York City, and a lot of people realize when you grow up in New York City, you just didn't have that racism you do in the South or certain areas of the country. It truly is, New York is a melting pot. And I always looked at a person who was a convict. If you're a convict, you're gonna be treated right. Next question. How did you handle your sexual temptations in prison? You have talked about masturbating, but did you ever have phone sex or receive pictures? How were your sexual desires handled with your significant other? You know, that's a great question. I don't think I've ever got that question. You handle your sexual desires because you are, especially as a 35-year-old man, you're at the peak of your prime. Yes, you masturbate a lot. I mean, everybody does. Unless you go to the prison hole for it, which I did. But we also had pornographic magazines. Believe it or not, you want to hear the sickness of this? They stopped that. They actually stopped pornographic magazines. They actually stopped them from coming into the prison. I don't know why you would stop them. Are you wanting prisoners to rape each other or fuck each other? Not rape, because again, rape is a crime of violence, not sex. But do you want them to have sex with everybody, each other, and all, which happens all the time? But is that what you want? Is that the desired outcome? In some states, they have visits where you can have sex. Your wife can come in, and maybe it's once a month, and they put you in a like a hotel room in the prison area for the night. And I think the prison system should do that. First of all, you can control the people that way. You can actually, hey, listen, if you don't get any prison infractions, you don't do anything stupid, you're gonna get your visit with your wife. Yes, phone sex. I had that. And you know what's funny about the phone sex? You know they're listening in. Guards listen in on all your phone calls. So there's somebody in a room listening to your phone sex. Literally listening to your phone sex. Not that I gave a shit. I mean, I don't give a shit. You want to listen in on me having sex? Have fun. I didn't give a fuck. Obviously, we had phone sex. But you know, it was funny. I remember this very, very predominantly. In prison, you can only make a 15-minute call and the phone hangs up automatically. And while you're doing it, it'll say you have 1 minute left. And it's funny because, you're really going at it. Now, you're not doing anything on the phone because you're out in the open. But your fucking dick is hard as shit through your pants. And, you're up against the wall and you're talking like this. And you're whispering and she's doing whatever she's doing on the phone. And, and then you want to get off that phone and go to your cell, obviously. And take care of your own business. And you did. And it's funny. You'd look at the phones, there'd be 4 phones over there. You could tell what's going on. It's kind of funny. But it was a great question. I never had that question before. That's a pretty good question. Do you ever feel guilty for the people you may have traumatized with the robberies? Yes. I don't know if it's the guilty feeling, it's the hurt feeling. I didn't hurt them physically. I never went into a robbery and pistol whipped someone or punched someone in the face or, smashed them in the fucking leg. Never did anything like that. But the way you phrase that question is worth answering. Yes, I traumatize people and I'm not proud of that. I really am not. I do think about that. I hope they get over it because you have to. I mean, you can't let any one thing kill you or control you for the rest of your life. But it is a traumatizing event. And I hope that they got stronger for it, got over it, and have a story to tell. I don't want people to be affected for the rest of their life. I can't change that, though. You can't. I understand how traumatic it is, and I do feel for that. And if it's guilt, I don't know, but it is a feeling of hurt, and I guess guilt. I wish I never did it and traumatized people. Anybody who says I don't give a fuck about it, that's not right. Now, people ask me, do I regret anything I did? And the regret's the bad word. I'd change it, but regret's the bad word. Next question. Hey, Larry, any prison traditions? Great question. I told you these questions are great, guys. Thank you. Any prison tradition? I don't know if it's a tradition, but I still make prison pasta. I love it. Man, I want to make it now. I'm thinking about it. There's something about it. I don't make it with a stinger. I don't cut the garlic with a razor blade like I did. So I don't know if there's any prison traditions. There are things that stick in my mind. I was looking at the clock, and after 4 o'clock, I almost want to stand up. It's something. If I look at the clock and it's 3:50 something, it clicks in my head right away. And it's something that just happens. And I don't like it, but it happens. Next one. Hi, Larry. What is your view on politicians and public officials who are corrupt, i.e. take bribes to give favorable treatment to someone, even if it's not in the public interest? I know that you have met a few personally in the past during your course of your former lifestyle. To you, is it just another hustle so that they can make a better life for themselves or something more? Yes, I did have politicians back in the day that were corrupt. I used to give them drugs, give them women, corrupt them if you want money, everything else. And I did that a lot. I had school board members, I had superintendents, sheriffs, mayors, council people. What do I think of it? I wish they would, listen, I'll tell you one thing I didn't do. I never asked for something that's not in the best interest for the public. Yes, I got a 4 o'clock drinking permit. Do I think that was bad for the public? Absolutely not. Do I think it was good for me? Absolutely. Other things, I've never asked a politician to do something against what I thought was for the better good of the people. Yes, I knew about when police were coming into town. Yes, I knew if there was an FBI investigation going on, stuff of that nature. But I never did. And you know, is it happening? It is happening every fucking day. I have now read articles on how these politicians are being bought with cryptocurrency. Yes, cryptocurrency. So nobody can track that cryptocurrency. So you give a politician a Bitcoin is worth $60,000. Nobody in the world knows he's got it. Nobody. He's got the code for it. He has it. Cashes it out whenever, and I'm hearing more and more stories about almost all the politicians doing it. It's wrong. We know it's wrong. But how do I look about it? You know, I hate to say this, but I think it's happening so much as part of the fabric. You know, there's an old saying, if you want to be on the right side of corruption, follow the politicians. You know, I think that's got some merit to it. Sad as that is, I think it is. Hey Larry, what do you think of portrayals of wardens in film and television? You know, that's a great question. It made me think, obviously. They had the warden in Shawshank Redemption, who was a corrupt motherfucker. So, the portrayals are the ones I see, the scumbags that I see. You know, I learned a lot about wardens. And here's how I learned a lot about wardens. One by a guard I know very well. I still talk to this name. His name is Massey. And he's a great guy, Gary Massey, and I respect him a lot. And he was the head of the union. And he told me that wardens get bonuses based on money they save, like from food or from overtime for guards or cutting programs. They get bonuses. You want to talk about making somebody corrupt? Are you going to tell someone, okay, you're gonna make $100,000 a year, and here's your budget. But if you just cut this budget a little, you make $120,000 a year, $140,000 a year, $180,000 a year. I hate to ever classify everybody in the big realm of, oh, they're all bad, because I don't believe that. I always believe they're all good. Matter of fact, I met a warden at Coleman Medium when I went and spoke, a Spanish guy, I forget his name, and I really got a good vibe from the guy. The guy was real, the guy was down to earth. I don't know what he did and how long he lasted. Most people don't last. But the portrayal of wardens in film and television, I have never seen them portrayed as these caring, good people. If you can find a movie that they're caring, good people, let me know. Most of them aren't, and most of them are like the ones in Shawshank Redemption. That's the warden that comes to mind the most when I think about wardens. Next question. Do you think you will be invited to work in Grand Theft Auto 6? Is it a hope of yours? I would love to see you in it. If not, would you be willing to work in any video game, i.e. Payday, Just Cause, if not other? You know, I haven't thought about it, but I would definitely like that, and I'd like any game to put me in it. I am in Prison Architect as a game, Prison Architect, and they have a prisoner with the, you know, the goatee and the bald head and the whole works. I think it's pretty cool. It's being immortalized in a video game. I'd love to be in GTA. I think I can make GTA so much better. I really do. Not so much as a character, on how to make their robberies better, how you can get points to it, a lot of different things to make them more realistic. I'd like to be a Payday. I'd like to be in any of them. So yes, that's a great question. Don't mind me, I still have that spider bite I'm taking care of. But yes, it's a great question, and I enjoyed that question. Next question. Have you ever known anybody who has successfully escaped? No. I know of people who tried to escape and got caught. I watched people set up escapes, but never get away with it. I do know of escapes that happened, but I didn't know the people that escaped. Next one. Hey Larry, what is your perspective on crime now versus back then? How much do you think the odds are that someone could pull off a robbery nowadays? You know, great questions. You know, when I got these Ask Me Anything, these are a lot of different questions than I normally got. And what do I think of crime now? I think technology has made crime a little bit, I won't say difficult, just more hurdles to overcome. But you also have more technology behind you as a criminal. Easier to look up a store, find the locations, get a satellite if you want of the roof and the surrounding areas. Know where the police departments are, like I said, with a satellite and everything else. And literally do things in real time. So it would save you a lot. Depending on where you are, you know, if you realize and understand that you're gonna be filmed at all times, no matter what, whether it's your car passing a mile down the road, somebody might pick it up. It just depends on where you rob the car from and how far you get away from it, and what better planning you have to have. I think crime now, obviously in my mind, is getting bigger. People, I think, are getting even more brazen. You hear some crazy crimes today that you didn't hear about. I mean, I'm not just gonna go into this crazy shit like school shootings, but even crimes, there's bank robberies, there's probably more money laundering, and there's more fraud going on that the institutions don't want you to know. I mean, you guys know I do a podcast with a guy who's amazing at that, and he went away for that, and he could tell you some stories as well. So I do think it is, you know, people ask me all the time, Larry, could you do a robbery today? You know what I tell them? Absolutely. Absolutely could I do a robbery today. There's not a question in my mind I can get away with a robbery. I don't know what it would do to me. I wouldn't do it, number one. I think the inside of me would be tore up more than anything. But there's no question, I think, with what I know and how I know it, I think I can totally do that. Totally, I think I can do that. Here's another one. What is it like coming out of prison after such a long time of prison time? How did you get a job, house, and your life back on the rails? First of all, that's a good question, but you should read the book. Amazing book. I'm not just saying it to get it. It explains that. It's also in videos. You don't have to buy it. There's a whole chapter I did on one getting out, which, you know, still gives me chills. And it amazes me that I was able to handle everything getting out. I couldn't even buy a cup of coffee, guys. I literally couldn't buy a cup of coffee. I was so fucking institutionalized, and here I am, an intelligent guy, got a degree, read the paper, communicated a lot, wrote the law, you know, did law, wrote briefs, wrote memos, was connected, watched some news on TV and stuff, listened to NPR, radio and stuff. And I was so fucking institutionalized, I couldn't barely function. And I always say, if not for my cousin, I'd be dead. So, yes, I think it's amazing that I even made it out and got my life back on the rails, as you would say. And, you know, but what it shows me is that anybody can do it. And I mean that. Anybody can do it. If I can do it, I'm no special person. I'm a person who's got a very strong will. If you've made mistakes, if you got out of prison and you're watching this, you can make it. And you're gonna go through rough times. I did. That's what I wanna see you do. Because if you don't do that, then you're never gonna know you can do it. You know, it's easy to make it when everyone gives you everything and you're great and, you know, you're living on a paradise and whatever you wanna call it. It's when the going gets rough and you still don't go back to crime, you're rehabilitated. You really are. And as I tell people getting out of prison, I said, listen to me, here's what you need to do. Whenever you think of going back, just think how sucky it is in there. How for the next X amount of years, you're gonna be told what to do, when to go to bed, when to take a shower, when to eat, what to wear. You want that? Go back. I don't. I never want that in a day in my life again. But with that said, I love the AMA questions. Ask me anything questions. We'll do them periodically. We love them. I love them. These were great. They were questions I never received before. So that's pretty cool. Thanks everybody for your support. You know I'm gonna be answering the comments right after this goes up. You have a great day. Please stay safe, make a good choice, and see you next time.